There are addictions that people can see, alcohol, drugs, behaviors that leave visible signs, but there are other addictions that are far more dangerous because they happen quietly, they fit inside a mobile phone, and they can destroy an entire life without anyone noticing. This is the story of a woman I never met personally. The person who came to see me was her sister, and the conversation we had changed the way I understand gambling addiction. She sat down in my office looking deeply shaken. It was not only sadness, it was the kind of pain that appears when an entire family has been hit by something nobody managed to stop. After a few moments of silence, she said something I will never forget. She said, "My sister died because of gambling on her phone." At first I thought she was speaking metaphorically, but she was not. She meant it literally. And then she began to tell me what had happened. Her sister was an ordinary woman, a working mother, raising 3 children, trying to balance work, bills, responsibilities, and the exhaustion that so many parents carry every day. Life was not easy, but it was not hopeless either. She paid the bills. She took care of her children. She did her best to keep the household running. Until one day, she discovered online betting apps. Here in the UK, this is extremely common. Advertisements appear everywhere, during football matches, on television, across social media, promises of quick money, promises that a few pounds can suddenly become a lot more. And for someone who is struggling to keep up with everyday expenses, that can feel like a door opening. At first, she only played with small amounts. £5, £10, it seemed harmless, just a bit of entertainment, or at least that is how it appeared. But these apps are designed very carefully. They stimulate the brain, bright colors, victory sounds, frequent small wins. All of this activates the brain's reward system, the very same system involved in many forms of addiction. And for a while, she did win money, not huge amounts, but enough to believe she had found a way to improve her life. That is when things began to change. She started playing more frequently. Then she began placing bigger bets. Then she started playing alone, late at night, sitting on the sofa after the children had gone to bed. And this is one of the most dangerous aspects of gambling addiction. It is invisible. Someone may appear to be simply looking at their phone, but inside their mind, the brain is trapped in a powerful cycle: anticipation, anxiety, excitement, frustration, and then anticipation again. Over time, what begins as entertainment can turn into compulsion. Her sister told me that nobody realized what was happening because people caught in this cycle often hide it, out of shame, out of fear, out of guilt. And this is one of the earliest warning signs. When someone starts hiding financial behavior, when conversations about money suddenly make them uncomfortable, when they appear constantly worried or anxious, when they begin isolating themselves, these may be signs that something deeper is happening. One day, she noticed something unusual when she visited her sister's house. The kitchen cupboards were almost empty. There was barely any food, and that made no sense, because her sister had always been very attentive with the children. Food had always been a priority. But that day something felt wrong. At the time she assumed perhaps money was tight that week, but today she realizes that moment was one of the first warning signs. Sometime later the phone rang early in the morning. It was one of the children, panicking, confused, saying something had happened to their mother. The shock that followed was devastating for the family. But the deeper shock was still to come. In the days that followed, they began to understand what had really been happening. When they opened her phone, they found hundreds of transactions, deposits, transfers, payments to different betting platforms, page after page, small amounts in the beginning, then larger ones, then amounts nobody in the family realized she even had access to, and then came the most painful discovery. To continue gambling, she had taken out loans, multiple loans, credit cards, borrowed money, money that should have been paying household bills, money that should have been supporting her children, all of it disappearing into betting apps. During the session, her sister told me something very important. For a long time, she felt anger, but later she began reading about gambling addiction, and she discovered something crucial. When someone becomes trapped in that cycle, the brain begins functioning differently. The person believes they can win everything back. They believe the next bet will fix the problem. This belief is extremely common in addictive patterns. It keeps the person stuck, even when the losses become overwhelming. At that moment in the conversation, I paused, because there is something very important I want to say to you as well. If you are listening to this story and recognizing something similar in your own life, or perhaps in someone close to you, there are things that can be done. The first step is breaking the silence. Addiction grows stronger in isolation. Speaking to someone you trust can be the first step towards regaining control. The second step is limiting access to gambling platforms. Here in the UK, there are tools that allow people to block betting apps. Banks can also restrict transactions to gambling websites. These barriers can be extremely helpful while someone is trying to recover. Another crucial step is seeking professional support. Addictions are not simply about willpower. They involve neurological and emotional processes that require guidance. Therapy, support groups, and specialized treatment can make a significant difference. And for family members, there is something equally important. Avoid judgment. Many people struggling with gambling addiction are already overwhelmed with shame. Judgment often pushes them deeper into secrecy. What truly helps is a combination of emotional support and clear boundaries. At the end of our conversation, her sister said something that stayed with me. She said, "If someone had talked about this earlier, maybe my sister would still be here." And that is exactly why stories like this must be told, because gambling addiction is often described as a silent epidemic. It grows quietly, inside phones, inside homes, inside families, without anyone noticing. But the earlier someone asks for help, the greater the chance of rebuilding a life. And if something in this story feels familiar to you, perhaps this is the moment to begin a conversation, because asking for help is never a sign of weakness. Sometimes it is the very first step towards reclaiming your life.